Hello, everyone. Welcome to My Turn to Talk. I am Solid Blue Sister, and today is Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021. Today, I was a little conflicted in terms of what I was going to talk about today. I was going to talk about mainly America's fear of history. And I also wanted to talk about America's hatred of itself. So today I'm going to combine both of the topics, the fear of America's fear of history and America's hatred of itself. And in the last 24 hours, there's been a lot of things on the news, and there have been things that have happened to me personally in the last 24 hours. And I'm going to kind of combine all of these things together. First of all, hate is a very strong word. And growing up, whenever I would say I hate someone, my mother would always tell me, don't use that word, don't use that word, don't use that word. And when I became a parent, even though my son never said that word, I never wanted him to say it. I never wanted him to say things like, you're a liar, or something like that. I will always say you're not telling the truth, or you're fibbing, because I always thought that when you called someone a liar, it was harsh. So unfortunately, I have to use that word hate because, again, I'm combining two topics today: America's fear of history and America's hatred of itself. We live in a country where a certain group of people, and I'm talking about white people, not all of them, but a fair amount, they want America to be white. And it's something that's never going to happen. America has never been white, ever. But for some reason, we have a group of people that not only hate people who don't have white skin with the European background, but they just fear. They have a fear of people with darker skin. And that fear has created stereotypes that has fed into the hatred of this country. Now, I've spoken before about Germany and how Germany addressed the Holocaust. Because, after the Holocaust, Germany was just someplace that it was like those people there killed Jewish people, those people. But what Germany did was they addressed the Holocaust straight on. They acknowledged what they did was wrong. They acknowledged, that the extermination of 6 million plus Jewish people and other ethnic groups during that time was wrong. And they erected memorials, basically apologizing for what they did. So I'm going to put up a couple of pictures here. And the first one is a memorial. Let me take this one down a little bit. Put this one up. All right, the first one is a Holocaust Memorial. And it compromises 2,711 concrete slabs of the same width and length, but of varying heights in a grid formation, allowing visitors to walk through the installation. The memorial has, however, been criticized for failing to address the suffering of the individual victims, as the monument is anonymous. The architect who designed it, Peter Eisman, responded that in this monument, there is no goal, no end. The duration of an individual's experience of it grants no further understanding, since understanding is impossible. I'm going to come back to that. But beneath the memorial, there is a lesser known information center, which attempts to provide a different experience. The room of names inside intends to release the victims from their anonymity, but by reading out biographies of Jews murdered in the Holocaust, a process which, if completed for all victims, would take over 6 years. The project is still collecting names and stories of the victims. When I saw this, I first saw this or found out about this about 2 years ago. And I immediately thought about the 9/11 memorial in New York. If you've ever been there, there is a room. Well, there's two rooms. There's one room where it has, on all 4 sides, is pictures of all of the victims who died on 9/11. Then there's another room where you can go in and you can sit, and you're like in a theater, and you're listening to the stories where, you know, friends and family have made stories of the victims. So when I read this, when I saw this about the Holocaust Memorial, I immediately thought of 9/11. And even though the United States has many statues and memorials across the country, we don't address the hate. We don't address the oppression. We don't address, and America does not take responsibility or accountability of what they did wrong, what they did wrong to Native Americans, what they've, you know, done wrong to African Americans, what they've done wrong, you know, to Latinos, you know, Hispanics, what they've done wrong to Chinese Americans, what they've done wrong to Japanese Americans, and the list goes on. When you talk about the Japanese during World War II, and they're put in the internment camps, when it's taught in school, it's like taught through a lens. And you're like, okay, Japanese Americans, yeah, their homes were taken from them. No, they never got their homes back. Yes, yes, things were stolen from them. Yes, they were tortured, but we won't do it again ever. So, sorry. But they don't even say that. It's more like, yes, the Japanese were put in the internment camps. That was a bad thing. We won't do it again ever. It's never addressed. We don't address things in this country. So in my opinion, because we don't address them, the hatred will never go away. The hatred will never go away. Charlottesville, let me go back. In my opinion, Charlottesville in 2017 was a precursor, or let's do a practice drill for January 6th. All these Klan rallies, all these last year when marching at the Capitol of Michigan because you don't want to wear a mask, threatening to kill, the governor of Michigan because of a mask. That was a precursor, in my opinion, up to January 6th, where these people planned to overthrow the government. That's what they wanted to do. That was their intention. And you can't whitewash it. It's like these people want a white America. It's not going to happen. And these people, you must really hate America to want to do this to America. Now, for some people, that might not make any sense, but it does, when you think about it. There's just a lack of human empathy as well as basic education for a lot of people. Stereotypes are so ingrained into the fabric of this country that unless you address it, unless you admit it, unless you say, yes, I have a problem, that part of the problem is me, this country is never going to change. This country is never going to change. Before I keep going, does anyone have anything they want to comment on?
I just want to address what you originally talked to in the early minutes of the call about the word hate, the kids saying that. And I always thought it was a very, very strong word. And I can't say that none of my kids ever came home and told me that they hated someone, which was good. And I don't think there's anybody that I can think of that I have that strong of a word for. But and I can also tell you as well, I can relate to the word lie. My kids weren't allowed to say that. They had to say fib, and kids would make fun of them in school, but of course they say it now. But I just wanted to add that I agree with you on that. And to hate someone is very, very, very strong. And when I think of the word hate, I think of lynchings in America. I think of you have to hate someone, and it almost seemed like it's beyond the word hate to when you think about Emmett Till, a 14-year-old kid, innocent kid, and you don't even know this person, and you kidnap this person from his relative's home, and you torture this kid because of what you perceived. And I mean, even if he had, and from what I understand, it was not true, but even if he did whistle at this woman, I understand the circumstances at the time, but even if he did whistle at this woman, did it deserve for him to be tortured and mutilated?
No.
That's hate. That's beyond hate.
It is.
That's crazy hate. So I just wanted to say that regarding when I think of the word hate, those are the kind of things come to my mind.
Well, I want to bring up, here it is. I'm going to share this with you. This is the woman, Carolyn Bryant. She is the one who lied. This is her today. She is the one who lied on the stand because she did not want her husband, Roy, to go to jail for what he did to Emmett Till. And 60 Minutes tracked her down years later. This is her in her 80s. And I look at her in her 80s, and I look at her younger, and she got a chance to live her life. She got a chance to live a full life where Emmett Till's life was cut short. So you're absolutely right to for her husband to hate someone enough, whether or not he whistled at her, it was a whistle. How many Black women did he whistle at? How many Black women did he rape? How many Black people, did he torture and kill other than Emmett Till? So you must really hate someone to do what you did. And she had to have a level of hatred in her heart to want to protect a monster like that, while you have Mamie Till, who was without her only son for the rest of her life. So you're absolutely right. There is a level of hate. There is a level of hatred. And I go back to, America, the people who hate, the people who do these things, to me, there is a part of them that hates the country that they're in. I mean, because if you love this country, you would not be doing things to tear it down. You would not be saying things to tear it down. You would, try to build it up. I look at the GOP and some of the things that these elected representatives, because they are elected, they're supposed to work for us. Some of the things that they're saying, and you must not want to live in a country that is inclusive. You must not want to live in a country that is not divisive, to continue to say mean, hateful, divisive things. I mean, go live in Russia. Go live in North Korea. Go live in all these other countries that are doing exactly what you want. But hate is a strong word, but unfortunately, there are a lot of people in this country that hate. To go and take a gun and start shooting everyone, mass shootings, running your car into someone because of the color of their skin. In Texas, what, about 10, 15 years ago? Tell me if I'm incorrect. Was his name James Byrd? Tied behind a pickup truck and dragged until he.
Yeah, that was in Jasper, Texas.
I mean, the level of hatred to do that to someone, and you're laughing. Taking Matthew. I can't remember his last name. Tying him up, beating him, then tying him up to a fence, because he's gay, and you leave him there overnight. His body is in such a bad shape, that he ends up dying when they get him to the hospital a couple of days later. I mean, that's the level of hatred that we have in this country. Now, I don't agree with a lot of the things that are going on. I don't agree, in terms of, there are some laws that are on the books that I don't, like. There are things that have been on the ballot that have passed that I've been against. But I'm not going to go and burn a cross, or, kill you, or beat you, or want to lynch you. But that's the world that we live in. I mean, this is America. So again, I go back to Germany, where this particular, put this up, take her down. Okay, this sign translates as Jewish youths are forbidden to walk around in groups of larger than 20 people. Now, that was taken during the Holocaust, German occupation. And I think of what some of these states have passed now, that any more than 3 people is considered a riot. And I don't know if that was Texas who did that or if it was Florida. But more than 3 people is considered a riot. And I see this sign and I'm like, are we back in the Holocaust? I mean, you know, these ridiculous laws that are coming up in America. Yet, again, I go back to say, we're telling other countries how they should be more democratic and have a democracy. I don't know. But I do know that the more we refuse to admit the hatred that is in this country, projects like 1619, critical race theory, we don't even have to say 1619, just teaching about the good and the bad. Charlottesville, what happened in Charlottesville, that was the bad. So are you going to tell me that you have people in this country that want to look at, Black Lives Matter from last summer and say, look at those Black people, they're just, this angry mob. They're going out and they're, putting lighting buildings on fire. They're breaking windows. So you're going to talk about that. Let's talk about Charlottesville. Let's talk about the fact that, an angry person who didn't like what people were saying literally took their car, used their car as a weapon, ran over someone, and ended up killing a protester. And not only was Heather Heyer dead, but the people on the right were happy about it and started calling her a cow. How do you do that? But Black Lives Matter, those protests, those were just evil, evil people. When you look at January 6th, Tucker Carlson, is trying to spin it as it was FBI undercover, people who were really doing it. First, they can't decide if it was Antifa and Black Lives Matter. And by the way, once again, Antifa is not a group. Okay, Antifa means anti-fascist. You are against an anti-fascist government. Antifa was alive and kicking back during World War II, when America, openly said the word anti-fascist when they were against Hitler. But now you have anti-fascism now. And it's this black word, it's this evil word that is associated with Black Lives Matter, which means that you all are full of hate. So when you look at January 6th, you look at the amount of hatred. It wasn't Black folks. They weren't Latinos. They weren't Japanese and Chinese and, Native American Indians. It was white nationalists. So I don't know. Why can't America address the problem of hatred in this country? What is so hard about it? I mean, I don't understand. What is so hard to talk about something that is clearly an everyday part of life in this country. Somewhere in this country, something is going on where someone had to have enough hate to keep their knee on someone's neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds to kill them. Where you had enough hatred in your heart to pepper spray a man who you pulled over, who had his hands up, asking you, what did I do wrong? And you're pepper spraying. You know, and at the same time, I say, how much hatred in your heart, you know, for anyone to, you know, pick up a gun, whether it's a mass shooting or whether you're just shooting someone, you know, in the neighborhood, down the street, you know, on the other side of the world, whatever. I mean, just hatred. And hate is a very strong word. So I just want to know, you know, what can America do to end the hatred? Because until it goes away, I see people who look like me in for more trouble, more issues.
I want to add that when you think about the number of crimes committed against Black people by law enforcement, you have to wonder, is this hatred? Do you have hate for someone who's unarmed, to pull them over and kill them? Is that a form of hatred? Because these are people who have not committed a crime. Is that hatred? You know, that's my question. Is that hatred? I know you asked what can be done, but you have to go deeper, because if Derek Chauvin put his foot or his knee rather on George Floyd's neck and held it there for several minutes, is that hatred? Is that hatred to deliberately know that this man is struggling to breathe? Is that hatred? Does it take all of that over a $20 bill, an alleged counterfeit $20 bill? Is that hatred to take someone's life over that? A person who's non-threatening, a person who did not go into the store and shoot up, you know, individuals and patrons or store clerks. Is that worth taking someone's life? Is that hatred? And if it is hatred, I don't know what can be done, because there's several people that are wearing police uniforms who I've read some things where people are deliberately getting on police forces to eliminate Black people. And I was just reading online today that 3 police officers, I think it might be Missouri, attacked off-duty a Black officer who was posing as a protester.
Yeah.
And they have a picture of him with, you know, busted lip, and text messages were shown in the courtroom from the officer saying he was gonna have fun this day. Nobody could identify them. Once it gets dark, they can really, you know, beat these shitheads up and brag about what they did.
And those police officers were not held accountable. You know,
well, one supposedly had a retrial, then he had a trial again. And so he was convicted, but I don't think he's been sentenced yet. But the other 2, and I'm not sure if you heard about that case. I can't remember if it was Missouri or not.
No, I remember. No, but when you had popped off and come back on, I did say that, you know, Derek Chauvin putting your knee on someone's neck, that to me, that is hate. You know, what they did to Rodney King, that's hatred.
Yeah. Right.
So again, that you just, and like you said, these are unarmed people. These are non-threatening people. I mean, even let's say they were armed, and they're walking, their back is turned or something. That's not threatening to you.
Right.
You look at um Rayshard Brooks from the Wendy's parking lot.
Yeah.
And I think, in my opinion, that these police officers who end up shooting people in the back or knees on necks, or beating people to death, I think that they already have an agenda. They know what they're going to do, but the problem now is the fact that everybody has a camera. So before, when Black folks were dying, at the hands of cops, it's like, oh, you all are making it up. It had to have been something more, even after Rodney King, even after when Rodney King, everybody saw that tape and what have you, it was still like, well, he had to have done something for him to get beat like that. The man was on the ground. So to me, it's like there's intent there that to me, police officers who end up doing stuff like that, they purposely escalate the situation to get it to a point where they could possibly kill you or paralyze you.
Well, there was an officer last week you might have heard about, who, I think you may even mentioned it. He rammed his vehicle into another motorist.
Yep.
And I believe the vehicle flipped over, and the woman, or no, this is another case. It was a pregnant woman, but some little girl died that was 11 years old. That was recently this week. An officer ran his vehicle into someone's car.
And the thing about it is, the one where the woman that was pregnant, is he's approaching the car, telling her to get out and saying, well, see, this wouldn't have happened if you had just listened to my directions or whatever. There were no directions. The woman had her hazards on. She's on the freeway, and she has her hazards on, which means there's no place for me to stop safely. At the next exit, I'm going to pull off and I will safely stop somewhere. But 20 seconds later, you're ramming her. And not only was she in danger, even if she wasn't pregnant, you still could have killed her. And her car goes like 3 lanes of traffic, so anyone else could have hit her. You could have caused a major traffic accident because of some stupidity of a police officer. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
But the question still remains, what can be done? Because if you have people who are brought up in homes where they were taught to hate certain groups, be it Jews or Blacks or Latinos, what can be done if a person was brought up to hate, and now they decided that they're going to get in law enforcement, or they get in the job world and discriminate against people who are qualified to be promoted or qualified to have a job in a particular industry. So the question is, what can be done about people who were brought up to hate? And they're walking around and are citizens of our society. They're everywhere. They're in politics. They're in the classroom. They're in the corporations.
You're right.
They're in the courtroom. So what can be done?
I mean, unless we have some supersonic Superman, something where we can automatically look through someone and see what's in a person's heart or mind. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. But we just the hypocrisy of it all. The hypocrisy of it all, that we're going to, tell someone else that they should act like this when we're doing the same thing in our own backyard. I mean, we can't even get gun control laws passed. And honestly, it's gotten to the point where when I hear of a shooting, I've gone from, oh my God, to, oh, there was another shooting. I mean, seriously, because it seems like every time you turn around, somebody, some crazy person is going out and just shooting people. You know, last week, I think here in California, we had somebody running down the street shooting and, you know, shooting at a group of children. I mean, come on. I mean, I don't know, because you're right. They are in the courtrooms. They're sitting on benches, you know, they're on judicial benches. You know, they're police officers, they're doctors, they're nurses, they're everywhere. What do you do?
I guess some things that we could do is get more active in our community and try to get elected to important offices, whether they're locally, on the state level or the national level, and trying and make some changes from there. I guess that's a start, that we do better. We do better as
definitely need
people.
them. Well, we definitely need them at the state level, definitely.
Yeah, we have to do better as people and make our voices heard. You know, local elections, state elections, national elections. We have to do our part and knock on doors, make phone calls, get out. You know, get out there and you know, people are passionate about their sports teams, and get passionate about where you live. Get passionate about your kids' school, the local council. You know, get passionate about that, because one day your kid is gonna grow up and may be a victim of these circumstances, or someone that you may know. So we need to change how we look at things. Like I said, you know, since COVID has been uplifted around the nation, you have stadiums full again, basketball, and people are passionate and cheering and yelling.
Well, wait, hold on. Let me let's back up a moment. What do you think is going on with this whole NBA, this hatred, you know, on you know, directed at African American players? I mean, what do you think is going on with this fan hatred, where, you know, that it's gone from beyond the name calling to getting physical? What do you think about that?
Again, I think that there's no accountability. They're not taking it seriously. I mean, even if you have no right, I think it might have been Kyrie Irving. Someone threw, or no, I think it was Russell Westbrook. A fan threw popcorn on him. You have no right to throw anything, water, whatever it is. You have no right to physically come in anyone's space and do anything to them. And they need to be arrested. They need to be prosecuted. And it's a total lack of disrespect. Total lack of disrespect. And you got the former person that left office. He's one of the main critics. Oh, the NBA viewing, the ratings were down anyway. Who cares about them? They're, you know, just constant hate and feeding people negativity to imbue more hatred, where it's not even necessary. And when that person came to the office, people, to me, got emboldened to really become who they are. You know, they
all
felt,
over the world, they became
yeah,
emboldened. The entire world just went buck wild crazy. I mean, seriously,
yeah,
it's like they all came out of the woodwork. All these people who never voted before and said, I'm not going to vote because these people, you know, we won't win. You're absolutely right. It's like when he came down that escalator in 2015 and announced that he was running, you know, for president, and so many people got behind him and cheered him on with those horrible comments that he made about Mexicans. That right there set the stage. And the fact that the media kept fueling him with giving him oxygen and letting him, you know, talk and covering him made it worse.
Yeah, and every time you turn around, there was someone in the news, a Karen. You know, that name became very common in the media. A Karen calling the police on, you know, there were some kids, I believe they were on campus, Native Americans, and some mom didn't think that they belonged on the tour, the campus tour. What are they doing here? And it, you know, it's brought that new name that's now looked upon with disdain, a Karen, because of this person that came into office. A lot of things have just gotten worse, or maybe they were just undercover, but now people feel, okay, well, if he's doing it, I might as well speak how I really feel as well, you know.
Well, yeah, and you know, and social media doesn't help, you know, but you know, you're right. I mean, it's like these people have become emboldened, and again, it's like just, you know, the racism and hatred that was unleashed around the entire globe. And I attribute it mainly to the former guy. You know, I try my best never to say his name anymore, you know, but I attribute
Yeah,
it to
it's
him.
not worth repeating.
It isn't because, you know, and even, you know, even when I want to say something that I think that he's done, I just don't want to give him oxygen. I don't want to give him more than what he deserves. And every time I think about it, every time I think about 2016, it just makes me just even angrier, because you have someone going around talking about grabbing somebody by their pussy, because that's what he said. So I'm going to say that, you know, whatever. And just how just talking horribly about women, you know, and still trying to execute the Central Park Five. But yet, you know, the media is harping on Hillary Clinton's emails. Really?
Yeah, and this person worked with Putin to disrupt
Yes.
our whole
Yes.
political process.
Yes.
But
You know,
it's like he's trying to turn the everything away from him when you're they stole the election. So now he's got all these states, Georgia and all these other states, trying to make it harder for blacks to vote in the next elections. But yet you're the one who stole the election when Hillary was running. You're the one who did that. Now you're trying to say that your election was stolen from you when Biden was running, and it's a joke.
it
It's
is.
a
It
big
is.
joke.
But the fact that so many people buy into that joke, the fact that he was able to corral so many, you know, people to believe him. And I don't even, you know, sometimes I wonder, you know, with the media, when I look at someone like Tucker Carlson or Fox News or, you know, Newsmax or whatever, I know they know, just like Ted Cruz and your Governor Abbott, whatever. I know they know that the election wasn't stolen. But what they're doing, once again, is using their platform, you know, screw the citizens that we're supposed to be helping. We're going to do whatever we can to use this platform to further our own personal agenda for power. And that is what is going on right now. And you have people who are giving money to people who, to further their own, you know, it's like they don't care about you. Ted Cruz doesn't care about the people that he represents. He cares about himself. He cares about his political survival. You know, I was looking at the news the other day. I was watching MSNBC, and they're saying that now DeSantis is, you know, even though it's three years out, that DeSantis is more of a front runner for 24 than the former guy. And you look at these two people like two peas in a pod, and this is, okay, you may not want the former guy, but you want this person? You want this person? Really? As your alternative? What has this country come to? This is where we are. So you're right. We do need to get more involved. We need to, like I said, if it's a vote for the dog catcher, vote. because that dog catcher one day is going to run for mayor. Then he's going to run for governor. Then he's going to want to be president. So you got to make sure that that dog catcher that you, that you voted for is someone who has sense, isn't stupid, and cares about democracy and is not a racist. So you're absolutely right. You have to, down ballots matter. Down ballots matter. I know some people, they go in, they just vote for president, or if it's a senatorial election, they'll vote for senator, and they leave everything else blank. Know people who are on that ballot. Know those judges that you're voting for. Your city council person. Know who those people are, because sooner or later, those people are going to affect you one way or another, whether it's a small way or a big way. But down ballots matter. And we have seen that on the state level, the people who we have on the state level are the ones that are making changes and are the ones that are affecting democracy as we know it. But as Black folks know it and other people of color know it, democracy for us is not the same as democracy for them. So we really have to be careful. We really have to vote. This is just going to be an ongoing conversation, because once again, circling back to critical race theory and teaching all of this in schools, it's like you have to teach about Emmett Till. But if you teach about Emmett Till, you have to teach about Carolyn Bryant. You just can't say that Emmett Till was, murdered, by racists. Put a face to those racists. I mean, Emmett Till, this murdered victim, he has a face. Put a face to people.
You're absolutely right, because when we were growing up, we had to read Diary of Anne Frank, and Anne Frank was not from America.
No, she wasn't.
But every kid, even to this, my kids, all had to read Diary of Anne Frank. And it was a horrible situation. But what was so ironic to me when I was growing up is the fact that she wasn't an American. She was living in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And I never understood when I was younger what, I knew about the Holocaust, but when we had to read it, I always wondered why that particular book. But in America, every school kid has to read it. And they believe that's an important part of history that every kid in America needs to know about. Mm-hmm. And we don't have books like that about young people where things have happened in this country that are historical. Mm-hmm. And there are stories that are historical, a part of this country that needs to be told. It needs to be in the classroom. But again, like I said, the Holocaust didn't happen in America, but it was an international thing that happened. But we have things that happen right here in America that are historical, that are not being taught in history class.
Well, I mean, and then again, once again, it's like, hold on, I'm trying to find this one photo. Okay, this is the one that I wanted to show. When you look at the history books, at least, when we were growing up, and again, I'm showing this picture because this Black woman is from the Little Rock Nine in Arkansas. And the Black woman is Elizabeth Eckford, and this white woman behind her with this dress, with this apron, white apron part on her dress, is Hazel Bryant. And this was a picture, a photo that went viral, if you want to use that term, during that time. It was shown all around the world. And again, if you talk about the Little Rock Nine, and you're talking about what they went through, you also have to talk about the people, the crowd, the massive racists behind them who are hurling every single day when these kids went to school, hurling just nasty racial slurs. And if their parents were with them, their parents were beaten, their homes were threatened, their lives were threatened. You have to talk about the people behind them. So you can't whitewash history. If you're going to talk about it, talk about everything that led up to it. Why did the Little Rock Nine have such a hard time going to school for 1 year? For 1 year. The hatred that's behind that.
Look at the hatred on their faces for a person that has not said or done anything physically to them. This woman has probably not uttered a word to any of them, or used any type of objects to fight them, but you have this hatred on their faces as though they want her dead.
But what's also about this picture is Elizabeth Eckford at the time, she, I do believe, was 16 years old. Hazel Bryant, the girl behind her, was 15. So you have a 15-year-old girl hurling the word nigger and everything else, behind them. And the thing about Elizabeth Eckford was, when the Little Rock Nine was going to school, this was the first day of school, of them trying to get into the school. It wasn't until 3 weeks later that the school actually let them in. But the first day of school, Elizabeth is by herself because her parents didn't have a phone. Where all the Little Rock Nine, they were all supposed to meet up at one place, and they were all supposed to go over to the school together. Elizabeth did not have a phone, so she ended up going by herself. So that's why she's isolated and she's there by herself. She was actually walking from, this mob of people were following her, and she went over to a bench and sat down on a bench where, like, for the bus. And a crowd of people surrounded her and continued to just yell things at her. And when she was interviewed years later, she was talking about the amount of terror, the terror. And this is another photo, just the terror that she felt by herself around this mob. And you're right, look at their faces. Go back to Africa. Why don't you go back to Europe? So this is, and again, I come back to you when you say that if people are raised in homes, this is what happens. These are the children that you produce. You produce children that are going to follow people around and shout racial slurs. You're going to follow people around who are going to, be like Charlottesville and tiki torches and what have you, and ram cars into people. Those are the people that you are raising, because you're raising your children in a house full of hate. This doesn't make any sense.
Mind-blowing.
It is. So when Black people are told, well, if only you did this, if only you all did this, or you all are violent criminals, you're this, you're that. Mm-mm. No, we're not. You are. You are. I was watching, I like watching old shows. I like watching black and white shows and what have you. And don't laugh. I was watching an episode of The Rifleman with Chuck Connors. And it was an episode of a federal agent who happened to be an Indian was coming to arrest someone, and the amount of racism that he encountered. And I thought about some of the episodes that Sammy Davis Jr. did when he was on The Rifleman, and it addressed racism, and what have you. And you're just shaking your head. You're just shaking your head that back then, for the storyline and some of the lines that were written for the main character that he's saying to the guest stars who happen to be, either Hispanic or Black, the amount of racism that was coming out, those words that, those lines that were written were so stereotypical and so racist. And I'm just sitting there listening to this, and I'm like, this is one reason why we have a problem. And Hollywood still does it. Why is it that when someone's cast, that the gang member is always Black? White people aren't in gangs, really? They're either Black or they're Latino. White people aren't in gangs, really? Why is it when the Cosby Show came out that white people were like, you have a lawyer and a doctor living in this nice house? That's fantasy. I grew up with people whose parents are doctors and lawyers in the same house, married. So so that's why it just bothers me when I see that we as a race perpetuate the stereotype. Because I've said before, we are not stupid people. We are not stupid people. And unfortunately, the stereotypes are so ingrained in people that it's never going to go away, at least not in my lifetime. I don't think in my son's lifetime or his kid's lifetime. I don't think it ever will. So until that happens, the only thing that I can say is watch your back. Watch your back. Because you never know, like you said, you don't know who these people are because they're everywhere. They're everywhere. And some people wear their racism and their hatred for another race like a badge of honor. Those you see coming, okay. But the ones that you don't, the ones that are sneaky about it, the ones that keep it undercover, those are the ones you have to be careful of. Those are the ones you really have to watch out for. But until then, the only thing we can do is watch our backs. Any closing comments from anyone?
No.
Miss Pandora.
No, I think you both covered it all. You absolutely did.
Okay, didn't want to leave
It was
you.
a great show.
Well, thank you. I will say that I am going to stop having a show on Fridays because my Fridays have gotten so incredibly busy. So it'll just be Monday through Thursday. But I'm also trying. I'm pushing to get this pod up. I'm having an issue with my music, but everything else is set and ready to go. So hopefully, again, I'll be able to give you guys the link where you guys can come in and join on the pod, which it'll be again more secure. And you guys can, it'll have the option of either doing video or phone in, or if you do want to do video, you can still like mute your your picture or whatever. So I am trying to get that taken care of. So, but my Fridays have just gotten so incredibly busy. But other than that, I appreciate you guys coming. Shy Lady, thank you, for your input.
Always a pleasure.
So, all right. Well, then I will talk to you hopefully tomorrow. And again, I'm Solid Blue Sister, speak your truth, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you both.
Okay,
Bye.
too. Bye.